Amara had always believed she was destined for greatness. With a top-class degree and unmatched confidence, she had one goal: to land her dream job at TechCore Group, one of the fastest-rising tech companies in Lagos. Everything about her screamed boss lady, from her sleek makeup to the sharp heels that clicked with every determined step. The morning of her interview, she was flawless. Her resume, perfect. Her answers, rehearsed. The only thing left was to arrive in style. But when she stepped outside and saw an Okada parked at her gate, confusion clouded her perfectly shaped brows. "You're here for me?" she asked the rider with a mix of disbelief and irritation. "Yes, ma." The man replied with a calm smile. "I was sent to pick you up for your interview." "Interview?" Amara scoffed. This company couldn't even send a car? Just an Okada? Wow. She climbed on, disgusted, gripping her handbag like it might catch poverty. She didn't bother hiding her attitude. The Okada rider? Just another nobody, she thought. Little did she know, the man behind the helmet wasn't just anyone. He was a test, and she was already failing. The ride to TechCore felt longer than usual, not because of the distance, but because of Amara's constant complaining. She grumbled about the dust, the sun, and how unprofessional the company must be to send an Okada. Next time, they should send a donkey, too, she muttered, rolling her eyes. The rider, still calm, said nothing. He simply nodded politely and kept navigating through the Lagos traffic. But Amara wasn't done. "You know," she said with a sarcastic tone, "if you focus more on school, maybe you'd be in an air-conditioned office instead of riding people around." The man chuckled softly. "True, but sometimes where you start isn't where you end." She scoffed. Whatever. She had no idea who she was talking to, and even less clue how her words were shaping her future. When they finally arrived at TechCore's sleek glass building, Amara jumped off, barely thanking him. "Good luck with your hustle," she said with a smirk before walking off with her chin held high. The rider watched her go, a knowing smile tugging at his lips. She thought the journey had ended, but the real ride was just beginning. Amara strutted into TechCore's lobby like she already owned a corner office. The building was everything she dreamed of: polished floors, glass walls, and sharp-suited staff buzzing around like they were building the future. She flashed a confident smile at the receptionist. "Good morning. I'm here for the 9 a.m. interview," she said, straightening her blazer. The receptionist checked the list. "Yes, Miss Amara. Please take a seat. The CEO will be down shortly to meet the candidates himself." Amara's heart jumped. The CEO, personally? She quickly adjusted her lipstick and sat down, legs crossed, phone in hand. Around her, a few other candidates waited. One girl, in a plain dress and dusty shoes, sat quietly reading a book. Amara rolled her eyes. "Some people don't even try," she muttered. Suddenly, murmurs filled the lobby. A tall man, in a perfectly tailored suit, walked out of the elevator. His presence commanded attention. Sharp jawline, confident steps. The CEO. Amara sat up straight until her jaw dropped. It was him, the Okada rider, smiling like nothing had happened. Her heart pounded. Her mouth went dry. She had mocked the very man she had come to impress. Of course. Here's the next part. Amara froze in her seat. It couldn't be. The same man she mocked, the one she dismissed as just an Okada rider, now stood in a crisp suit, confidently addressing the room. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "I'm Chidi Okafor, CEO of TechCore Group. I personally requested to meet you all today." Gasps filled the lobby. Amara's stomach twisted into knots. Chidi's voice was calm, but every word struck her heart like thunder. "Here at TechCore, we don't just hire talent. We hire character, integrity, humility." He paused and looked directly at Amara. She quickly lowered her eyes. "This morning," he continued, "I decided to personally pick up one of our candidates. Disguised, of course. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to see something very specific." The room fell silent. Too often, people treat others based on assumptions, on what they think they see. But how you treat someone when you believe they're beneath you tells me everything I need to know. Amara felt like the ground could swallow her. Shame burned on her skin. She wasn't just disqualified by skill. She had failed the real test before the interview even began. The air in the room grew heavier. No one dared speak. No one even breathed too loud. Amara's once confident posture melted into a nervous slump. Her hands trembled slightly on her lap. Her heart was beating louder than her heels had clicked that morning. Chitty didn't mention her name, didn't point fingers. He didn't need to. Everyone knew who he was talking about. And now, he said smoothly, we'll proceed with the interviews. Not just to see who's qualified, but to see who truly fits our values. He turned and walked back toward the elevator, his staff motioning the first candidate to follow. Amara sat frozen. In her head, she replayed everything. The insults, the sarcasm, the eye rolls. Every word she thought was clever now echoed like a curse. How could she have known? But deep down, she did know. Even if he wasn't the CEO, she had treated another human like trash. That was the real problem. And now, backslash, the dream job she thought was hers was slipping away. Not because she lacked talent, but because her pride had walked into the room before her character. Here's the next chapter in the series. As Amara sat drowning in silent regret, another candidate stood up when her name was called. It was the same girl Amara had dismissed earlier, the one in the plain dress, with tired shoes and no makeup. She rose quietly, gave a small smile, and walked confidently toward the interview room. Her name was Ioma. No airs, no attitude, just calm humility. Some of the other candidates glanced at her and whispered, clearly underestimating her too. But Chitty noticed. His eyes followed Ioma with interest, a soft smile playing on his lips. Amara couldn't help but stare. What did that girl have that she didn't? No designer bag, no polished look, no boss babe vibe. But Chitty saw something deeper. Ioma had walked all the way from Ojalegba just to be on time. She greeted everyone politely, even the cleaner at the gate. And when she met Chitty, disguised as the Okada rider, she didn't flinch. She greeted him with "Good morning, sir," and thanked him for his service. She treated everyone with respect. Now, it was her moment to shine. And for Amara, that moment was a painful mirror. Inside the interview room, Ioma sat across from a panel of executives, Chitty included. She looked nervous, but calm. Her resume was modest, her experience limited, but her presence sincere. Chitty leaned forward, his voice warm. Ioma, why do you want to work at TechCore? She took a breath. Because I believe in building, sir. I may not have much, but I've always had a passion for growth, mine and the people around me. She continued, her voice steady. TechCore isn't just a company. It's an opportunity to learn, to serve, and arise with purpose. The panel nodded, impressed. Chitty smiled. And what if we gave you that chance? Ioma's eyes lit up. I wouldn't waste it. Not for a second. Meanwhile, outside the room, Amara was glued to her seat, heart pounding, palms sweating. Every passing second deepened her worry. When the door opened and Ioma walked out with a grateful smile, Amara couldn't take it anymore. She stood and approached the receptionist. Excuse me, I haven't been called. The receptionist checked again, avoiding eye contact. I'm sorry, Miss Amara. Your name, it's no longer on the list. Amara froze. The door she thought was hers had quietly shut. Amara's lips parted slightly. Her voice caught between disbelief and panic. What do you mean, no longer on the list? She asked, trying to stay composed. The receptionist sighed, lowering her voice. I was told to inform you. The CEO has made his decision. Amara felt her world crumble. Her years of study, internships, and ambition, all undone in a single morning. Not because she wasn't qualified, not because she wasn't smart, but because she had treated a stranger with disrespect. She turned slowly and saw Chitty down the hallway, chatting warmly with a few staff members. He glanced at her briefly, his expression unreadable. She wanted to run, scream, or beg, but all she could do was stand there, painfully aware of the eyes around her. Other candidates were still waiting. Ioma was still smiling, and she was already forgotten. She took a deep breath and walked outside. The sun had risen higher now, scorching her skin like her shame. It hit her fully. This wasn't just a lost job. It was a lost opportunity to show who she truly was. And sadly, the version she showed was the wrong one. Amara stepped out of the TechCore building, but this time she wasn't strutting. There were no confident clicks of high heels, only slow, heavy steps that echoed with regret. Every voice in her head screamed, "You blew it." The Okada she had once mocked was nowhere in sight. Neither was the pride she wore like perfume. She looked around, hoping no one she knew had seen what happened. Her perfectly styled hair clung to her skin as the Lego sun bore down, but nothing felt heavier than the weight of her choices. Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend. "How did it go?" "You kill it." Amara stared at the screen for a long time, then turned it off. She didn't know how to explain that she had ruined her shot at a dream job. Not because she lacked talent, but because of how she treated someone she thought didn't matter. She passed a roadside vendor who greeted her with a smile. For the first time in a long while, Amara paused and greeted back. "Good afternoon," she said quietly. Her voice was soft now, humbled. The lesson had begun, and life wasn't done teaching her yet. That evening, Amara sat on her bed, staring blankly at the ceiling fan spinning above her. Everything felt silent. Her high hopes, her practiced answers, her polished confidence. It all seemed like a joke now. Not once during all her preparation had she thought about how to treat a stranger. Not once had it occurred to her that the real test wouldn't be inside the boardroom. It would be on the road, with a man on a bike. She replayed the ride in her mind, the way she scoffed, the things she said, the pride in her voice. Next time they should send a donkey too. She winced. What had she gained from saying that? Nothing. And now she had lost everything. She opened her laptop, wondering if she should send an apology. Would it even matter? As she scrolled through TechCore's website, her eyes landed on the Meet Our CEO section. There he was, Chidi Okafor, successful, respected, and the same man she treated like nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. What have I done? Her dreams were shattered not by failure, but by pride. And pride, she realized, was the most expensive thing she had ever worn. Amara sat at her desk, staring at the blinking cursor on her laptop screen. She had typed the same message 5 times, and deleted it 5 times too. Subject, apology. Dear Mr. Chidi, I sincerely apologize for my behavior. She sighed. It sounded fake, like damage control. Not the truth, because the truth was uglier. She had looked down on him, and she only regretted it now that she knew who he was. Would he even read it? Would he care? She remembered the way he looked at her in the lobby, calm, composed, and disappointed. But he didn't shout, didn't embarrass her. He just let her disqualify herself. That's what hurt the most. Eventually, she closed the laptop without sending anything. Not because she didn't want to apologize, but because she knew no email could undo what was done. Some lessons don't come with second chances. Instead, she picked up a pen and journaled the words she couldn't say aloud. Pride cost me a seat at the table. Next time, I'll lead with respect. It wasn't redemption, but it was a start. And sometimes, the real healing begins in the silence of self-reflection. Back at TechCore, the atmosphere buzzed with new energy. Ioma sat nervously across from her new team lead, filling out paperwork. Her hands trembled slightly. This wasn't just a job. It was a miracle. Chidi Okafor stood behind a glass wall, watching with quiet pride. He remembered her kind words, her respectful greeting, and the gentle way she had thanked him that morning, when she didn't know who he was. Give her the mentorship package, he said to his assistant, and let her shadow me directly for the next 6 weeks. The assistant raised a brow. That's rare, sir. Chidi smiled. So is humility. He turned away, but his mind drifted back to Amara. She was talented, on paper, maybe more so than the others. But her pride? It had poison in everything. He didn't hate her. He just hoped she learned. Because the truth was, he had once been judged too, back when he was just a boy with big dreams and no money. And he remembered every single person who treated him like nothing. That's why he tested his candidates this way. Not to embarrass them, but to reveal who they truly were. 2 weeks slipped by. Amara applied everywhere, but her confidence was shaky. Each cover letter felt heavy with the memory of Chitty's quiet judgment. One humid Friday afternoon, she ducked into a roadside buka to escape the heat. She ordered jollof rice she could barely taste and opened her notebook, filling pages with goals, promises, corrections. "Is that seat free?" a gentle voice asked. She looked up, startled. It was Ioma clutching a tray of takeaway packs, TechCore ID dangling proudly. Sweat beaded on her brow, but her smile was bright. Amara's throat tightened. "Of course," she whispered. Ioma sat, arranging the packs. "We're delivering lunch to an orphanage nearby. My team volunteered." She paused, recognizing Amara. "Hey, weren't you at the interview?" Amara nodded, cheeks burning. "I didn't get the role." Ioma's eyes softened. "I'm sorry. It was tough competition." Silence lingered until Amara surprised herself. "Need extra hands?" I'd like to help." Ioma's grin widened. "Sure. More help, more smiles." Amara rose, wiping her palms. She didn't know if volunteering would mean anything, but it felt right. Sometimes, the road back to dignity begins with carrying someone else's meal. The following Monday morning, Amara was sweeping her small apartment when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello, Amara? This is Miriam from TechCore HR." Amara's breath caught in her throat. "Why, yes. We were informed about your volunteer work at the orphanage over the weekend. Mr. Chitty noticed." Amara blinked. "I wasn't trying to be noticed." Miriam chuckled. "That's exactly why he noticed." There was a pause. Then came the words she never expected to hear. "He'd like to see you." Amara stood frozen, broom still in hand. Is this a second interview?" "Not quite. Just a meeting. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Come as yourself." The line went dead. For a moment, Amara couldn't move. Her heart was racing, but not from pride this time, from humility. She hadn't tried to fix her mistake by force. She'd just done better. And somehow, it reached the one man she thought she'd lost all chances with. Tomorrow would be her moment of truth. And this time, she planned to walk in not as the girl with something to prove, but as the woman who had learned what really matters. At 8:59 a.m., Amara stood in front of TechCore's glass doors again. But this time, everything was different. No designer heels. No dramatic entrance. Just a simple blouse, black pants, and a quiet determination in her eyes. As she stepped into the lobby, the receptionist looked up, surprised. "Miss Amara?" Amara smiled gently. "I have a meeting with Mr. Chitty." The receptionist nodded and gestured to the elevator. "He's expecting you." Her heart pounded as she rode up, but not from fear of being judged. She had already faced the harshest judgment, her own. The elevator doors opened to a bright, minimalist office. And there he was. Chitty stood by the window, hands behind his back, looking out at the city. He turned. "Good morning, Amara." She met his eyes, bowed slightly. "Good morning, sir." He studied her quietly, then gestured to a seat. "No interview today, just a conversation." She nodded, sitting down calmly. "You showed me your qualifications the first time," Chitty said. "But lately, you've been showing me something more important, growth." Amara swallowed hard, emotions swirling. "I can't change how I started, sir, but I can choose how I continue." Chitty leaned back, expression soft. "Then let's talk about that." The office was quiet, but Amara's heart thundered like a drum. Chitty's expression remained unreadable as he folded his hands on the desk. "Why did you come to the orphanage, Amara?" She took a breath. "Because I needed to, not to impress anyone, not for attention, just to be useful, to do something that wasn't about me for once." Chitty nodded slowly. "I believe people can change if they're willing to face themselves first." Amara's eyes welled with tears, but she didn't blink them away. "I've never been more willing." He leaned forward. "I won't pretend what happened didn't matter. It did. But the fact that you didn't send an email and chose to serve instead, that spoke volumes. Amara looked up, surprised. He continued, "We're not offering the position you originally applied for." Her chest tightened. "But," he added with a faint smile, "we have something else in mind, a mentorship placement, one that starts at the bottom, but has no ceiling." Amara blinked. "You still give me a chance?" Chitty's smile grew. "You earned it, not with your words, but with your actions." And just like that, the door reopened, not because of pride, but because of change. Amara stepped out of Chitty's office with a new letter in her hand. Not an offer, but a second chance. Junior Strategy and Turn Mentorship Program, TechCore Group. The title wasn't flashy. The pay was basic. But to her, it was gold. She didn't strut this time. She walked with gratitude. Downstairs, she found Ioma waiting with a warm smile. "I heard," she said softly. Amara smiled, humbled. "He's given me another chance. I don't deserve it, but I'm ready for it." Ioma nodded. Deserving isn't always about the past. Sometimes it's about what you choose next. That first day, Amara was assigned to a small office, shared desk, modest laptop, and a team that barely noticed her at first. But she didn't care. She greeted the cleaners with respect. She helped the junior staff carry a box without being asked. She even joined the company's charity outreach group. Day by day, she was becoming someone new, not just smart, but kind. Not just qualified, but teachable. And as she scribbled notes from a team meeting, she caught a glimpse of Chitty walking by, smiling subtly. For the first time, Amara felt proud of not where she was, but who she was becoming. Weeks passed, and Amara bloomed quietly. She no longer chased praise. She chased progress. From staying late to help team members, to leading a successful mini-project on digital outreach, her name started popping up in conversations. But this time, for the right reasons. Even staff who once avoided her now sought her out for advice. Not because of her style or confidence, but because of her humility, her growth, her grace. One afternoon, during a team presentation, Chitty sat silently at the back of the room. Amara was presenting her findings on a new market strategy. She didn't know he was there at first, until she glanced up and saw his familiar, calm expression. But this time, she didn't panic. She spoke clearly with poise, not to impress, but to deliver value. When the meeting ended, Chitty walked up slowly and said just 4 words. "I'm proud of you." Amara's chest swelled, not from pride, but from a quiet joy. Not long ago, she had lost everything at the feet of arrogance. Now, she was earning everything, step by step. Respect, purpose, redemption, not because she demanded it, but because she chose to change. Months later, Amara stood by the glass window of her new office, her own office. She had been promoted to assistant project lead. It wasn't handed to her. She earned it through hard work, sleepless nights, and a transformed heart. As she looked down at the bustling streets of Lagos, she saw a young woman waiting by the gate, nervous, holding a resume, just like she once did. Amara smiled, walked down, and greeted her warmly. "First interview?" The girl nodded, clutching her file. Amara offered her a bottle of water. "Don't worry. Be yourself. And be kind. That's more important than you think." The girl looked surprised. "Thank you." As Amara walked back inside, Chitty passed her in the hallway. "You're learning fast," he said with a knowing look. She smiled. "Because I had to fall to rise." Chitty paused. "Exactly. Talent can open doors. But character keeps them open." And with that, he walked away. Amara stood a little taller. She had lost a job once. But in the process, she gained wisdom, humility, and a future that couldn't be faked. Because now, she didn't just belong at TechCore. She belonged to something greater. Growth. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this message. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what act of kindness inspired you today. Thanks for being part of this journey. Until next time, remember, even the smallest act of kindness can change a life.